Martin. Is that you? Wasn't the director supposed to tell you I was going to call? Well, I'm his deputy. The deputy Osipov. I'm calling to instruct you. Alright, here we go. You're a security guard now. Keep the place safe, don't let anybody in, keep the strangers out, and you'll get a guaranteed paycheck. Sounds easy, but you'll still have to prove yourself, because, well, the cameras don't record for some reason, so you have to be prepared for the unexpected. And you will have to notify the police right away about the intruders. We tried everything, but the recording error still occurs. Anyway, there are motion sensors in the vent, and on the computer as well. So you will immediately get a warning if there's something moving or going on in there. Actually, I don't think anybody needs to go through those dusty tunnels, but it's a royal theater, so you have to be vigilant. Could you tell me more about yourself? Alright. I get that you don't want to tell me. Okay, look. They haven't changed anything after the renovation, so just be careful with the equipment. Cause it seems like it's from 2003, I think. They don't even have cameras all over the building yet. But those are good enough for now. Also, the power generator in your room is old, so the plugs might pop due to an electronic failure. Oh, and you better don't use two computers at once. Just use one instead. And it's better to use the newer one. It's in the room with lots of screens. That's where you should go. Don't leave the lights on when you're not there. If the power suddenly goes out, you won't be able to work. You just keep an eye on the power. Again, the light from the lamp on the desk is not likely to be of any use to you, since you'll be spending most of your time in the review room anyway. Well, go ahead, start working.
I'm coming out now to deal with you, hooligan.
Hello? Burton? Oh, well, hello again. Nice of you to stay on the job. You know, it was hard to find anyone for that job. Not many people want to pass by this palace now. It's probably because of some myth about some toys walking around at night. And they supposedly killed a man. Seriously, how can anyone be afraid of this scary tale? Nonsense. We also found a piece of paper among the junk the other day that said, "Fairy tales can become horror. Watch out!" In blood, and it smelled like expired ketchup. What sort of hoaxers are these? Really? Why on earth didn't you report it? It's your duty. Oh, hold on. The workshop? Oh, it's the philosopher. He's such an alcoholic. Urgh. He has practically lived here in the palace his entire life. At least he thought so. When the palace was being restored, we found him here. He refused to leave the building. He said he wanted to continue to live here. Then we decided to hire him as a locksmith at the same time. Instead of a wage, he asked for food, water, and alcohol. What an alcoholic. So don't think he's a stranger. He never leaves his room, so you wouldn't mistake him for a stranger. By the way, we had some toys brought for the theater the other day, but they got shaken and damaged somehow along the way. But luckily, not all the toys were badly damaged. Damn movers. Anyway, today the philosopher offered to help us, and he wanted to fix them. And today he was supposed to put them in their places. You can even see some through video surveillance. If the philosopher has already laid them out, of course, we'll get them ready for the children's shows. This is the Walled-In Place. That's where the east wing of the palace is. It's all abandoned, neglected, and ruined inside. We haven't started rebuilding that part of the palace yet. Maybe in a year we'll start. I don't know. And now, after the restoration, the layout of the rooms isn't very comfortable. But we'll manage eventually. Is it that windy at night? It's blowing from the ventilation system. It goes on the roof right outside. Well, I don't know what to do. I'd suggest, of course, going to another room, but the computer is bad there. Still, it's old. Oh, I forgot to tell you. We found some leather in the vent right above you. Well, it might fall out. If you hear any rubbing or soft knocks, don't stand under it. The trash might come out. We'll clean the vent tomorrow or the day after. So be careful today. It was such a great time when there was a palace instead of a theater. This was the home of King Froggle's family. Right, yes. Well, let's get to work then. Good night.
my dream. Get out!
Hello? Well, I guess you're used to your workplace by now. Well, good. I hope you learned the map by heart and know where the things are. Well, then look over the map carefully. Watch the cameras to see where and what's located. And in time, you'll know the whole map. The palace is beautiful, isn't it? There are so many rooms, and many of them have their own individual style. The palace is just so buried in the inside. Yeah, it was certainly nice here. But after one incident, things went wrong. It all started when one of Froggle's daughter went missing. As you know, the whole family was out walking in their garden one late night at a time, and the daughter just went missing. These were hard times for a man like Froggle. He had always been cheerful, but then he fell into the deepest depression. He even closed the fairy kingdom from free visits. Then there were many interrogations, investigations. Froggle was so fed up with it all, but he held on trying. After the incident, he immediately went to the police, to a detective agency, but it got him nowhere. Absolutely no evidence. But in the end it turned out to be one of the detectives disappeared. As a result, surveillance cameras were placed in the palace and around the grounds. And moreover, even in the air ducts, motion detectors were installed. And so it came the end of the quiet life of Froggle and his family. Over time, of course, things calmed down a bit. But it wasn't like before anymore. Still, it was a profound loss. Then they started hiring guards for the fairy kingdom, because all sort of hooligans started showing up in the garden and vandalizing it at night. Perhaps those were the very people who destroyed the palace. Or rather, they are. But when asked why they do it, they refused to answer. But as Froggle's second said himself, who disappeared with his family and courtiers, could tell us about it. This happened after the murder of the king's chief servant. A few days after the crime, the entire palace was suddenly abandoned. Froggle and the family fled, taking almost nothing from the palace. The palace and its entire grounds were left completely unattended. And then the vandals came, and you know the rest. It's hard to figure out why the family ran away. They could have fled either from the Vandals, or because they could have committed these murders. But I can't believe they could have done that. I mean, they certainly couldn't have done it. I know them. I was acquainted with all of them. Well, I can suspect one crazy old woman, the king's mother-in-law. But I'm sure even she is not the murderer. And there's something else notable in this whole story. There were those toys in the kingdom. The ones you heard myths about. The ones that supposedly came to life and so on. They were called Froggy, Kitty, Croco, and some kind of gnomes. So one day a guard noticed that they seemed to be walking around at night, and he went to a technique to protect himself from them. He was sent to a psychiatrist for a checkup. Then the second one came in, kept quiet for the first time. Then, after the murder, he talked about how he heard that the servant has been killed by Froggy. He heard it straight over the phone. They began to suspect him, and for 3 days they wouldn't let him leave the palace grounds. But the detective said... Guess what he said? Oddly enough, yes, and the detective was trying to prove something. Oh? What's there to tell? Why would you need it anyway? Alright, listen. Well, in a nutshell, if Froggy comes, turn off the light. He's blind and can't see you in the dark. But don't go where it's bright, he'll see you there and attack you. About Kitty and Croco, they can see very well in the dark, and you have to turn on the lights when they come in. It kind of blinds them. Ridiculous, right? And there's something about the gnomes that says something about a music box. It has to be turned on for them for some reason. That's all. Oh yeah, and one more thing about the philosopher. He's not making any noise in his workshop, is he? He was drunk again this afternoon and shouted something about curses and chrysanthemums. And then he made such a noise that half the palace must have heard that. Well, if it doesn't make any noise, that's good. Oh, by the way, I have brought you something. See that little box on the table? I thought I'd bring it to you. If you get bored, you can wind it up. Oh, but don't forget about the work. Don't give the box too much attention. Alright, you got work to do. See you later. Wouldn't be surprised to see huge puddles in the morning. I think it's going to rain all night. Oh, not a big deal. Didn't really need it there anyway. We haven't changed the bulbs in most of the rooms yet. We'll change them sometime later. Did you know that the characters in the play, Froggy and Friends, are based on, those old walking toys? However, we added new characters. But once upon a time, these were King Froggy's first favorites. He loved them so much. And then he passed away. His castle was abandoned as his son Froggy II moved into a new palace. Froggy I had a heart disorder, so he tried to stay calm while doing anything and everything. Did you see the castle behind this palace? You can go there and see. That is the castle of Froggy I. He lived there with his winged wife, and he carried a book with him everywhere. It must have been his diary, or rather his notebook. But because of some trouble, the queen became very angry and quarreled with Froggy. She probably decided to take it out on him. She was always on the edge of filming. In general, how could King Froggy only fall in love with her? She was angry because she had lost her slipper, the pink one. She had been naming her slippers, which were in the shape of cats, since she was a little girl. And she called them Kitty and Catty. Funny, isn't it? I don't know just why Kitty came to be considered a toy, but it seems to have been after the queen decided that one slipper without the other was no use to her. So she decided to nail it to a stick and put it in the garden. Then she saw her son playing with it. Before this occasion, by the way, King Froggy decided that it was getting a bit old-fashioned to live in a 300-year-old castle, and he hired builders to build a new one. The king had some land, and he agreed that he would give 2/3 to the builders to construct the new palace. Then, before he could move into the new palace, he died. And Froggy II began to live in the newly built palace, got married, and got himself a family, hired some servants, raised a garden, and, so to speak, began to live worry-free. Froggy met me at a theater during an intermission in the buffet. What a lover of food he was! He bought so much food, as if he was going to feast him at the buffet. We got to talk quite well, and I began to come to his royal diner for a cup of tea sometimes. That's why I know so much about them. So then, Froggy II decided to inspect the old castle, and he went there with some people. He took some things, including his father's toys, which became the decoration for his garden. And then, someone killed the chief servant for some reason. I told you before. Oh, it's 12 PM already. Okay, I'm talking too much. Get back to work. Well, did you think you could work here after that?